Well, I got asked a few times about making some kind of a podcast, with the kids call a podcast, or some kind of audio, about my project. And like, a lot of people just don't like to read, and I totally get that. If you want actual organized information, I would check out the blog. There's links to it everywhere. I'll put one in the description of the video. Living Gaia Project, what the hell is that? This is a project I started in 2011 or something, like a zillion years ago, and it wasn't supposed to be what it is today. Originally, I just wanted to do a fantasy comic. At the time, I was getting super into, classic fantasy, but I was also a cartoonist. I did a lot of comics, and I've been doing comics my whole life, so I wanted to kind of combine those things. And I was like, I wonder if I could do a fantasy comic. But before I did that, I had to really immerse myself in fantasy and be like, what do you need for a fantasy world? What are the rules of this world? It's not like the world that I was used to having characters in and stuff like that. So I put down some really sloppy ground rules for this world and just kind of made shit up as I go, and it was fine for what it was. I mean, it was just it wasn't even meant to be very long. It was just a stupid little comic. But then I ended up getting a lot of really good feedback on it, a lot of really positive feedback, and so I just kept going, and it got bigger and bigger, and the story got bigger. And then eventually I ran into a problem where the comic got bigger than the world was built, and the world building was really inadequate for what this story was, and I was writing myself into corners. And at the same time too, I started developing some pretty intense health issues, and one of those issues was my wrist. I had advanced carpal, I still have it, but advanced carpal tunnel. So I couldn't continue doing, comics consistently, and I had to really change my style. Right now I do a comic called Million Mile Crew, and that comic is a completely different style. It doesn't have line work, which was the thing that was really killing me with the comic I did, Fairy Tale Rejects. Yeah, so I mean, I had to completely switch styles into like this sloppy, really childlike style, and that did not fit what Fairy Tale Rejects was supposed to be. So Fairy Tale Rejects went on hiatus for a long, long time, and I was trying to figure out what to do with it and how to salvage it, because I really did like it. A lot of other people liked it too, and people would be like, "Where is it? Are you gonna come back?" And and I wanted to bring it back, so I said to myself, well, the only reason this can come back and the only way I can save this is if I completely rip everything out of the ground and just kind of redo it from the ground up, reinvent the whole world that it was set in. And I don't know when that happened. That was probably like 2015 or something. I have no idea. So it's the same world basically, but I fixed a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff is different. A lot of the same characters you can find in the new version, but basically I reinvented it as a series of short stories because it was easier on my wrist to type, and it fit the tone of the story more. The story had gotten, too big for like a little stupid fantasy comic. And so yeah, now there's like 16, 17, I don't know, some amount of short stories right now, and I'm still writing them, and I really enjoy doing it, and I've gotten positive feedback on it, which I really appreciate a lot. And so this is so disorganized, I'm so sorry. What I meant to say before is that I started a blog to keep all of my information right in one spot, where originally it was just for me. I didn't really intend anybody else to read it, but it was just to keep my shit straight, because the first time around like I said, the story outgrew the world. And so I was like, I gotta make sure that I have the foundation this time to build these short stories on, or I'm gonna write myself into a corner again and I'll have to rip everything up again, and I don't want to do that. So so I started that blog where I just put all of my information about, the rules of this world and the maps and all these things, so I wouldn't end up contradicting myself, and things would stay consistent, and it could be, the framework of something that could be as big as I wanted it to, and something that I could just build off of. And so I did this for several years, and just kept adding to it and writing stories around it, and it's a lot of fun. And that's basically the origin of how it came to be what it is today, which I didn't know that world building was like a legit hobby. I've been doing it my whole life and I didn't even know. I found like a community of people that are like, oh yeah, world building, like I do that, and there's a whole community around it, and I was like, oh my god, that's what I do. So I keep everything in one spot now, and I just occasionally I'll go back and change things, and everybody's free to look at it, and so that's the origin of how it happened. I'm sorry, this is so disorganized. I'm gonna get more into, at the actual world building stuff and the content of the blog and everything. So yeah, this is the introduction of what'll hopefully be something better than this. Okay, bye.